Congratulations, graduates, and you can all be seated. We're about to recognize each individual graduate one by one and present them with a gift from the church, and it is a Bible. Brianna's going to read their achievements as they come up.
Our first graduate is Kinsley Burleson. Kinsley is graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, he will be attending Mississippi State University to major in mechanical engineering. In high school, Kinsley finished every class with an A, had fun, stayed out of trouble, and made great friends along the way. He has received multiple college scholarships and has also been accepted into the Honors College at Mississippi State. Our next graduate is Abby Carson. Abby is graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, she will be attending the University of North Alabama to major in nursing. During her sophomore year, Abby was given the 110% award by the SHS dance team. During her senior year, she was also awarded the Best Attitude Award by the SHS dance team and was recognized as an All-American dancer by the Universal Dance Association. Next, we have Annabelle Collum. Annabelle is also graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, she will be attending the University of Mississippi. In high school, Annabelle has been recognized as a Mississippi Scholar and has been a member of Beta Club. During her tennis career, Annabelle also has won individual and team division championships. Our next graduate is McKenna Hurt. McKenna is also graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, she will be attending Itawamba Community College to major in elementary. In high school, McKenna made the state cross-country team 3 years in a row and also played tennis during her senior year. She also served as the treasurer of Anchor Club. Our next graduate is Marley Hurt. Marley is graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, she will be attending Itawamba Community College. While in high school, Marley was on the varsity swim team. She was also in Beta Club for 4 years, Reach Club for 3 years, and Anchor Club for 2 years. Marley is also graduating with honors and Mississippi Scholars. Next, we have Kaylee Ikamori. Kaylee is graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, she will be attending the University of Mississippi to major in forensic chemistry. Kaylee was selected into Saltillo High School's class of 2022 historian of her class. She was also a 4-time 5A girls cross-country state champion. Our next graduate is Carson Langford. Carson is graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, Carson will be attending Missouri Baptist University on a football scholarship and will be majoring in health science. After completing his bachelor's degree, he plans to apply to nursing school. During his football career, Carson was chosen as a member of the 5A All-Division Football Second Team and the North Mississippi Football Coaches Association North All-Star Team. He was also selected into Saltillo High School's Hall of Fame. Next, we have Kylie Luker. Kylie is graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, she will be attending the University of Mississippi to pursue a degree in biomedical engineering. In high school, Kylie served as a Saltillo High School Beta Club president, where she accumulated over 100 hours of community service. She was also a member of the Region 1 5A golf team and was an individual champion. And our next graduate is Jake Montgomery. Jake is also graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, he will be attending Itawamba Community College. In high school, Jake was a member of the Reach Club and has done lots of community outreach. He has also been on many mission trips during his high school career. Our next graduate is Benji Webb. Benji is graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, he will be attending Hines Community College on a baseball scholarship and will be majoring in kinesiology. After completing his bachelor's degree, he plans to get a master's degree in biomedical. Benji was an FCA champion and was an all-state 5A baseball player. He was also selected into Saltillo High School's Hall of Fame. And next we have Houston White. Houston is graduating from the Abeka and Time for Learning homeschool program. After graduation, he plans on assisting with his dad at home. Houston has volunteered with the 8 Days of Hope in Texas as part of a youth mission team. He also participated in a Storm Chasers class sponsored by WTVA and WLOV. Houston has also finished his high school career on the A&B Honor Roll. And our last high school graduate is Ruth Allison White. Ruth Allison is graduating from Saltillo High School. In the fall, she will be attending Itawamba Community College to major in elementary education. Ruth Allison was awarded as an Indian Delegation Scholarship from Itawamba Community College for being selected as an Indian delegate. In high school, she was elected as homecoming maid her sophomore and senior year, and she was voted as friendliest of her class. As part of the Saltillo High School varsity swim team, Ruth Allison was also a 2-time qualifier for regionals in the 50-yard free. Let's congratulate these graduates by giving them a round of applause. We also have a number of college graduates that we would like to recognize as well. From Itawamba Community College, we have Lakin Boozer, Alex Carson, Megan Hopper, Hannah Vance, and Samantha Wells. From the University of Mississippi, we have Noah Collum. From Blue Mountain College, we have Jillian McCollum. From Mississippi State University, Julie Simmons. From Auburn University, Anna Claire Priest. From the University of North Alabama, Heidi Crowder. From the University of Mississippi Medical Center, we have Emily Wood. And from New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, we also have Evan Wilson. Let's give all of them a round of applause.
Graduate Sunday or Baccalaureate Sunday is always a huge accomplishment. It's always fun to see all the friends and family that come to honor these graduates. But a scary thing about college and graduation and every aspect of it is the uncertainties of life that are quickly approaching. And I know I was talking to Paula Wood. She's actually one of the juniors and senior Sunday school teachers. And she was saying that she was asking, hey, are you excited about graduating? Are you excited about going to college? And most of the time you think, absolutely, yes, this is great. But Paula said one of the biggest things that they kept saying was, I'm kind of scared. Like, I'm nervous. Like, this is a time of life where I got to decide what I want to do the rest of my life. Like, it is a big decision. And going off of what Evan was singing in the last song is like, throughout the rest of our life, our goal should be to live more and more like Jesus. And I know that's easy to say and very difficult to do, but that should be our entire goal as a church. But thinking back to whenever I was going into college, when I was graduating high school, had my whole life in front of me, I was like, man, this is going to be awesome. I was going back and thinking of things that I wish I knew then. Some things that I wish that I could figure out. And I got some pictures to demonstrate some of the things that I wish I knew back then. If you cannot read it, it says the college student struggle is real. She has a gallon of milk, and she is filling it up in the cafeteria. So my first thing I wish I knew whenever I was going to college is always call your parents. They may send gifts and may send money for groceries. So call your parents if you are going to college. The next one is, this is one of my favorite pictures, says the evolution of an 8 a.m. class is what the tag note or side note says. So I wish I knew this. If you are not a morning person, 8 a.m. classes are not for you because you will wind up like the last guy in that picture and passed out on his computer. Okay? The next thing that I wish I knew was open book tests are a trick. because your professor is going to know that one paragraph that you did not read, and that is what the entire test is going to be on. So whenever you hear open book test, study. Study like every other test you could possibly ever imagine. Okay, the next one, this one's just a funny book, or funny picture. You like that guy's $1,000 TV stand? College textbooks are as much as rent. So again, going back to number one, call your parents. They may send money for gifts. And just know that all of the money that you have the first week will go to textbooks. The next one is, if you can't read this, it says, doesn't check grades, doesn't check bank account, pretends everything is okay. And he says, this is fine. But stress in college is also real. And it gets more real whenever you start failing classes and you start running out of money. So don't do either one of those. Call your parents, study. Don't look at open book tests as easy test. Okay, and the last one, this is college in a nutshell. College is like looking both ways before you cross the road and then getting hit by a train. Expect the unexpected, because it will happen. And when you think you've got it figured out, you don't. It's going to get harder. Okay, but that is enough of things that I wish I knew in college. Let's actually go to somebody that does have, he was the wisest man in all of history, the wisest man in the Bible, and his name is Solomon. So if you have your Bible, you can turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 11. And if you've read Ecclesiastes, you're like, why the heck is he reading Ecclesiastes? That's a terrible book to read. And I agree, it is not a fun book to read. But there are some great pointers for life in the last couple of chapters. If you don't know anything about Ecclesiastes, it is terrible. And you will read the book and you will be like, man, life is meaningless. I have no purpose for life. And then you get to the end of it, you're like, well, maybe I do. I don't really know. What are you talking about, Solomon? But another reason why I wanted to go through Ecclesiastes is it's kind of neat. Over, I guess, this past year, I've had multiple students come up to me and say in their personal Bible study, they were reading through Ecclesiastes. And me, like everybody else, looked at them and be like, wow. Like that is not a book you want to just read for fun. But they've been reading through their entire Bible. And that one time that they were reading, they were on the book of Ecclesiastes, which is awesome. Because how many of us have actually took intentional time to read through our Bibles? And you have high school students that are doing that. So whenever going through preparing for the sermon, I was like, where better to go than a book that is written about wisdom, and a book that is written by a man that has had it all, achieved everything he could possibly achieve, but still was trying to find the purpose for life. And Solomon found it. And that's what we're going to read today. We're going to start in chapter 11, verse 7, and then read through 12:7, and then go to the end of chapter 12. But I'll start reading this. Life is sweet, how pleasant to see a new day dawning. When people live to be very old, let them rejoice in every day of life. But let them also remember there will be many dark days. Everything still to come is meaningless. Young people, it is wonderful to be young. Enjoy every minute of it. Do everything you want to do. Take it all in. But remember, you must give an account to God for everything that you do. So refuse to worry. Keep your body healthy. But remember that youth with a whole life before you is meaningless. Now in chapter 12. Don't let the excitement of youth cause you to forget your Creator. Honor Him in your youth before you grow old and say life is not pleasant anymore. Remember Him before the light of the sun, moon, and star is dim in your old eye, the rain clouds continually darken your sky. Remember Him before your legs, the guards of your house, start to tremble, before your shoulders, the strong men stoop. Remember Him before your teeth, your few remaining servants, stop grinding, and before your eyes, the woman looking through the window, see dimly. Remember Him before the doors to life of opportunity is closed, and the sound of work fades. Now rise at the first chirping of the birds, but then their sounds will grow faint. Remember Him before you become fearful of falling and worry about danger in the streets, for your hair turns white like almond trees in bloom. You're dragged along without energy like a dying grasshopper. The caperberry no longer inspires sexual desires. Remember Him before you near your grave, your everlasting home, when the mourners will weep at your funeral. Yes, remember your Creator. Now when you are young, before the silver cord of life snaps and the golden bowl is broken, don't wait until the water jar is smashed at the spring and the pulley is broken at the well, for then the dust will return to the earth and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Okay, that was a mouthful. But what is kind of neat about those verses is Solomon wrote that on purpose to be like that, because it's talking about the drudgery of life. And if you look at that in the original language, it is one long run-on sentence. So imagine trying to read that without taking a breath. You might die, and that was Solomon's point. But now let's go into the last couple verses of this chapter, starting in verse 12. But my child, let me give you some further advice. Be careful, for writing books is endless, and much study wears you out. That's the whole story. Here now is my final conclusion. Fear God and obey his commands, for this is everyone's duty. God will judge us for everything we do, including every secret thing, whether good or bad. Let's pray, and then we'll dive into that. Lord, just thank you. Thank you for being a God that gives us life and a life that we can enjoy. And Lord, just thank you for being a God that we can come to with whatever worries that we have. And thank you for being there to help us through them. And Lord, just continue to be with us this morning. Help for us to focus on you solely throughout this time. And Lord, just help it to be you that we're looking to. And Lord, just please let it be you speaking and not me. In your holy name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at today is the very first point that all graduates need to remember, whether high school or college, is to enjoy life. Whenever God has given us life, when God has created us, he created us to enjoy his creation and to enjoy his way of life. And that is what Solomon finally nailed down throughout his entire searching for joy, his entire searching for something. He found that as humans, God created us not as little puppet people, but God created us to enjoy all of life and enjoy every aspect of it. And whenever we look at, I'm going to go back and read verses 8 through 10. It says, when people live to be very old, let them rejoice in every day of life. But let them also remember there will be many dark days. Everything is still to come is meaningless. Young people, it's wonderful to be young, every minute of it. Enjoy every minute of it. Do everything you want to do. Take it all in. But remember that you must give an account to God for everything you do. So refuse to worry. Keep your body healthy. But remember that youth with a whole life before you is meaningless. Whenever God created us, he created us to enjoy life. He created us to look forward and glorify him in everything that we do. But it's also kind of funny whenever it says when people live to be very old. I was thinking about this too. Is there anybody that is old in the room? Because most of the time whenever you talk to an older person, it's somebody that's older than you. And then if you're the oldest person in the room, are you necessarily old because there's nobody older than you? So everybody always looks at somebody everybody's looking at the oldest person in the room saying, at least I'm still young. And that's unfortunate whenever you become the oldest person. And that got my tongue way twisted more than it needed to. But in this, whenever we look at being old, nobody's ever reached the age of being old, I feel like. Everybody still feels like, man, I feel like I can still do whatever I want to until you try to do it. And then you realize, man, I am old. This is unfortunate. That is me whenever we go to youth camps. I feel like I'm still in high school, and I am definitely not. But whenever we look at this, Solomon's whole goal is for us as people to enjoy Christ in everything that we do. And I love that at the end of this saying, he says, do everything you want to do, take it all in. But remember, you must give an account for God in everything that you do. Whenever we go through life, do what you want to do, like enjoy it. Make the most of it. But in doing that, remember that you've got to take an account for God for whatever you do. And that is scary. That is something that is hard to wrestle with because God created you to enjoy life, and we'll get into how do you enjoy the life God created you for later. But whenever we look at this, you enjoy life by living in every single moment that you're given. And how many times do we not do that? How many times do we live for the next moment, not the here and now? Like right now, these last couple of weeks of school, You were waiting with anticipation to graduate. In college, it gets even worse. Just wait. But whenever you're in high school, you're like, man, I just can't wait to graduate. When I graduate, then life will open up. Then you get to college. Whenever I get this degree, then life will open up. Then you graduate college, and you're like, whenever I get the job I want, then my life will open up. Then you get the job, you're like, well, whenever I start a family. Then when you start a family, it's like, oh, well, when the kids get out. Then when the kids get out, then it's like, oh, when retirement comes. And then when retirement comes, you're like, well, what do I do now? Oh, I guess when I die, whatever. But just kidding if you're a retired person. But whenever you're looking at this, we always live for the next big thing. We never live for the here and now. And that's what Solomon's saying. Solomon's saying, enjoy every moment of it. Don't live and worry about the future. The future will come when it comes, but enjoy the here and now. And I was looking through this and reading some books, and a song that kept coming back to me when looking at the here and now was kind of a funny country song. So it was Don't Blink by Kenny Chesney. I'm sure everybody here has heard it. Funny story about that, I was in a college class, and my college professor played this song for us in the middle of class. Don't really know why. But the way this song starts, it says, I turned on the evening news. I saw an old man being interviewed, turning 102 today. Asked him what the secret to life. He looked up from his old pipe, laughed, and said, all I can say is don't blink. And then it goes into every stage of life that kid or that guy's went through. And he said, if you blink, you're going to miss it. And what the whole purpose of that song was, I mean, obviously it was just a fun song, but what the purpose of the song was saying, like, enjoy every moment that comes your way. Don't let it pass by thinking, something else bigger will come. No, enjoy it. Like, I know I could go through with each and every one of you big moments that I've seen in this short time of knowing you, big moments that you've accomplished, big moments from getting on the roof for the first time, big moments for holding a baby the first time, big moments for winning state championships, whatever it is. Like, I've seen all of these gigantic moments, and the baby that they held was actually our baby. It's just a fun story. But just seeing these big-time moments in their life and seeing how if you don't take time for those moments, they will be gone so quickly. And another thing that I also figured out or noticed in these passages is notice all of the successes in your life as well. Whenever you're going through life, you're going to have many successes, but you're also going to have many failures. You talk to anybody in here, guarantee the thing they remember the most is their failures. But what is also funny about this is we'll go and use Liam as an example. Whenever Liam starts taking his first steps, if every time he takes one or two steps and falls, if like I start saying, man, our kid is dumb. He can't even step. Like, what's wrong with this kid? No, that's not what you do as parents. You enjoy every single step that they take. And that's exactly how life is. We should enjoy every single moment that we make. But don't forget the failures, because the failures is where you learn from. But then let's get into the next point. How do you enjoy the life that God has intended for you? I feel like that's what all we want to do is enjoy the life that God's given us. Enjoy what God has blessed us with. And in Solomon's words, there is one thing that is repeated multiple times. And I'm not going to reread all the verses, but we will read the first little parts of these verses. In Ecclesiastes 12, 1 through 7, it says this. We'll read the first two verses. Don't let the excitement of youth cause you to forget your Creator. Honor Him in your youth before you grow old and say, life is not pleasant anymore. Remember Him before the light of the sun, the moon, the stars dim in your old eyes. Remember Him before your legs start to tremble. Remember Him before the door to life's opportunity is closed and the sound of work fades. Remember Him before you become fearful of falling. Yes, remember your Creator now while you are young. For then the dust will return to earth, and the spirit will return to God who gave it to you. Solomon saying, to enjoy life, remember God. Remember the Creator. Remember the one that brought you to salvation. Remember God. And so often, that is so hard to do. And that's speaking from me and my own personal experiences. It's so easy to live life and think, hey, I've got this figured out. Hey, I can do this. Hey, I got this figured out. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. And we so often forget, hey, God, help me through this. hey, God, I need you. I need you to direct me. But Solomon, after all of his searching for joy, after everything that he's accomplished, if you think you can accomplish something, Solomon's already done that 10 times. Like Solomon has done whatever you could think of. But then whenever he gets to the end of his life, he says, remember God. If you want the joyful life, remember him. And what's also neat about this is he says, remember the Creator and honor him in your youth before you grow old and say life is not pleasant anymore. If you talk to anybody that's been a Christian for a long, long time, their number one regret will most likely be, I wish I gave my life to Christ earlier. And you're like, why is that? Well, because if you give your life to Christ earlier, then you can share him with more and more people throughout your life. And so many times you've got the other end of the spectrum where people don't want to give their life to Christ until they're on their deathbed. They wait until they're out of high school. They wait until they're out of college. They wait until they're in their career. They wait until they have a family. And then they're like, hey, now I'll give my life to Christ. But the only problem is so many times there's so many people that you have neglected to share your faith with if you were saved before then. And that is the reason Solomon says, praise the Creator in your youth. Praise him, honor him, glorify him. Honor him while you're young so that other people can honor him as well. And whenever you look at people that have been saved for a long time and you look at their regret, don't let that be you. Don't let that be you saying, hey, I can share Christ when I'm older. No, that's not the goal. Our goal is to share Christ wherever we go at whatever age or stage of life that we're in. That is the way the gospel is shared. But then we'll go ahead and skip down to the last two verses. In Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14, it says this. That's the whole story. Here is my final conclusion. Fear God and obey his commands, for this is everyone's duty. God will judge us for everything we do, including every secret thing, whether good or bad. Solomon, in his infinite wisdom, boiled down all of life into two commands. Fear God and obey God's commands. You're like, well, that's pretty easy. That doesn't seem too bad. That's what is the hardest thing life has ever thrown at you, is fearing God and obeying his commands. But whenever you look at that, you're like, well, why is the first one fear God? It's kind of a scary first command. Hey, if you want to enjoy life, fear something. If you want to enjoy life, fear spiders. Then you'll be terrified every time there's a spider anywhere near. If you want to enjoy life, that's not something you think of. You don't think of fearing God. But why would you fear God? Whenever you get to know God, whenever you start studying who God is, when you start researching him, whenever you just start diving deeper and deeper in his love, you realize how big and how powerful he truly is. But then you look at the flip side of that, how lucky and how gracious he is to allow us into his family. And whenever we fear God, it's not like a fear of, hey, God's going to strike me down if I do this. No, it's fearing God is saying, like, hey, God, like, you are so much bigger than I could ever imagine. And I can't even understand you. And because I don't know all of you, that's what brings me to fear you. And it's a reverent fear. And it's not a fear of saying, like, hey, I need to be worried about everything I'm doing. It's a fear of saying, hey, God, you're great, and I'm not. And it puts God in perspective, but it also puts us in perspective as well. It puts us in the perspective saying, hey, like, this God that I'm worshiping, he's a big deal. This God that I'm worshiping is not a God that I should just disregard everything about him whenever I'm living my life. No, it's a God that I should go to every single day of my life. But then you go to his second command, and it says, obey God's commands. I was reading some books this week, and one of the articles that really stuck out to me was from Daniel Aiken. It says, fear God and keep his commands. Obey him out of love and respect for who he is and what he has done. You see the order, don't you? I'm accepted, therefore I obey. It is not I obey so that I am accepted. He loved me first. I now love and serve him in grateful response. Whenever we fear God, it's not saying, like, I fear him because of who I am. No, it's fearing him because of what he's done and who he is. And then whenever we fear him, that leads us to obeying and serving him. And when that leads us to obeying and serving him, that leads us to the enjoyment of life the way that God has intended it for. That leads us to enjoying life the way that God created from the very beginning, before sin ever entered in. That is the way that we find enjoyment in life. But what's also neat about that is fear and obedience go hand in hand. Whenever, we'll pick on Jake for a second. Jake's one of the graduates. Whenever Jake, I would say, has a legitimate fear for his dad, not because his dad is a scary, gigantic human being. No, because his dad is his dad. And that is the same way that we should be with God, not because we know that his dad, like Jake's dad's going to hit him and take him out any chance he gets. No. But whenever Jake has that fear for his dad, it's a fear and respect. It's saying, no, like I fear you because you're my dad, and I also respect you because you're my dad. And whenever we look at God in the same sense, we look at God as saying, yes, I fear you because of who you are and what you've done. But through that fear, I'm obedient to you. Through that fear, now I respect you because of who you are. Not because of anything else, but because you are God. So Solomon's entire summary of Ecclesiastes boils down to fear and command. Fear and obey commands. Fear God and obedience. And that is how you find enjoyment in life. It's not this big things you got to jump through, not these hoops you got to do. No, it's two simple things that Solomon's laid out for us. And it's two simple things that we should take with us wherever we go. Whatever occupation, whatever career, whatever college, wherever life takes you. Whatever stage of life. That's not just for people graduating. That's for all people. It's for us to fear God and obey his commandments. Life was meant to be enjoyed, and life should be enjoyed. Life's not a time where we start worrying about every little thing that comes our way. No, life's meant to be enjoyed. And whenever we have full enjoyment in life is whenever we're fully worshiping God as well. Us worshiping God brings us joy. Us worshiping God puts worship on somebody that is worthy of our worship. It's not saying, hey, look how great I am. Look at what I've done. No, it's saying like, God has done everything through us. Like there's nothing that we could do apart from God. And that goes back to Solomon saying, hey, worship the great creator. The one that was here before anything ever began. The one that will be here after everything's gone. Worship him. Not somebody. Not yourself. No, you can't do anything apart from God. Don't worship anything but God. But looking at that, another thing that's also neat about the enjoyment of life is so many times whenever worry starts eating us up, the problem is we always assume that the grass is always greener on the other side. We always look at, hey, whenever I do this, then my life will be better. Whenever I do this, then my life will be great. But we're always looking for something, and then when we get there, we realize, hey, this isn't what it's all cracked up to be. This isn't everything that I thought life was going to be. And then we start searching for another thing instead of just looking at the here and now and waiting and enjoying what God has blessed you with. But whenever God created us to live a life that is honoring and glorifying to him, that is what brings us ultimate joy. And as you leave today, go and do whatever you want to do. Go enjoy life. Go to whatever college, go whatever career you want to do. Remember that God is the one that you're doing it for. It's not about you. Yes, I hope you are the most accomplished person ever. I hope Carson's kicking for whatever NFL team he wants to kick for. Like, I hope crazy things are happening. But I hope that whenever you do that, you give God the glory and not yourself. Because that is the purpose of life. And as you continue in life, whether college or career or retirement, fear God and obey his commands. That is Solomon's summary in a nutshell. That is what a life that is enjoyed looks like. A life that is fearful of God, but fearfully obeying his commands. And maybe that enjoyment begins today. Maybe that enjoyment begins today by somebody not saying, hey, I don't know what in the world this even means. I don't know what it means to fearfully obey God. Like, I don't even know anything about this guy that you're talking about. Who is this person that's created everything? Well, that is an awesome place to be. If you don't know that, please come talk to one of us. We'd love to share with you who the God is that we worship, and who the Creator is that we follow, and who the Creator is that gives us the enjoyment that we so often want. So if you do not have or know what that enjoyment is, please come talk to us. We'll be out in the Welcome Center in the foyer. Please come talk to us out there. I'm going to pray, and then we will start invitation.